So usually I don't go into my composites with a plan, I just search pixels for images until I come up with something. But this time I knew that I wanted to do something related to the wildfires that have been happening here in California. So I started off with the jar because that was going to be my main subject, so I sized it and got rid of the white background behind it. After the jar, I added my background, which is just going to be fire. After I had the background in, I started working on making the jar transparent so you could see the flames through it. Next, I started to make the scene that was going to be in the jar. So I started with the Golden Gate Bridge and cropped it, then fixed the perspective and warped it a little bit as well. Then I changed the water on the bridge because I wanted it to look a little fake, and also to get rid of the stuff in the background because it would have been distracting. Then I added a layer of dirt under the water to kind of be the ground, and I just blended them together with a layer mask and soft brushes so it wouldn't be as harsh of a transition. Then the last part was to add the rocks underneath the dirt, because the surface of the earth is rock, and since I'm making it look like I took a chunk of the earth and just put it in a jar, I kind of thought it would make sense. Then after I had the scene done, I had to put it in the jar, and for some reason it took me a while to figure out the order to do everything. Like I knew I had to get rid of the letters on the jar, so I did that first. And then I tried sticking the scene into the jar from there, but it didn't look right with the white inside the jar, so then I realized I really do have to make the jar transparent again. So I did that, but the letters were still on the jar, so I opened the jar in a new tab, then got rid of the letters again. But then I realized I didn't get rid of the background first, so I redid it again, where I got rid of the background first, then the letters again for like the 4th time. Then finally, when I had the jar done, I took it back into my composite and made it transparent again after deleting a bunch of layers that I didn't need anymore. And then when I was making the jar transparent, I kept forgetting that the lid was being affected as well, and that I was just going to paint that in later. Then finally, when the jar was ready, I then had to make it look like the bridge was actually in the jar, which did take some time to get it right. Then from there, it was just about perfecting everything, like adding the highlights to the jar, color correcting stuff to match the fire background, and making sure the scene in the jar looked realistic. And then once I was getting closer to being done, I added some smoke over everything. And I still continued to fix up the bridge by painting it in more and adding some saturation to it. Then I added and mixed a couple of LUTs to color the fire more and bring up the exposure in the smoke as well. Then I realized the jar was too small for the background, so I made it bigger. Then I just painted in the jar highlights with a low opacity white brush because I lost some of the details when I made everything bigger. And here is the final result. So I did end up changing the background, and I wasn't recording it because I was just playing around to see what it would look like and didn't think I would actually end up liking it. But I think the composite turned out pretty good and looks just like how I planned it to be.